Hey everybody, this is another update on where I'm at on my comic. So as you can see, I've got a lot of the book pretty much flatted, and none of these are final colors. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my god, that's what he's doing in this. No, I have a general color scheme that I want to go with, but I haven't been paying too much attention to that because I actually need to get all of the flats done. Then I can go back and start giving the whole thing a more uniform look. So, the main thing I know is that I don't want the trees to be brown. I don't want the grass to be green. And a lot of the other stuff is basically open for interpretation still. Even down to their suits. Like some of these other pages that I'm on here, where we got Bexva over here, and then Archivelian right here. So yeah, I think I mentioned that in the last video, but I just want to restate that because I'm down to these 4 pages here, 21 through 24, and this one, finishing up flatting this one panel. So this is, I'm not exactly sure how long this video is going to be, but basically I'm just chatting while I work here. So I'm going to go over and grab a color sample from Archivelian's main color, or his main temporary color, whatever you want to call it. And the way I do it is I grab everything in the background first. So I'm not sure what I want to make the sky yet. I just know it's most likely not really going to be blue. So I went ahead and put this pinkish color. Let me grab this really quick. Okay, let me lose the rest of that. Okay, so I just grabbed the pink behind this one panel right now. I've actually got the selection tool set to where if I select pink, it's going to select all of this pinkish. So is the sky going to turn out pink? Probably not, but who knows? If it works with the color scheme, great, because it's not such a bad color to bounce things off once you start getting in there and changing it. So right now what I'm doing is just showing you like the reason I'm using this kind of tone of pink for the for the sky. So if I go in and I sample, the pink, the color, whatever, and then I start saying, okay, well, my sky is going to fade from, it's usually darker up high and lighter down low, right? So if I go in here with my brush and I say, well, I'm going to have like, the bottom will be lighter, right? According to that theory. And then if I take my brush and go back and forth like this, you'll see that it just gets much, much, much lighter. And then it starts giving a little bit of life to it as opposed to like this panel and whatnot. So if this ends up being blue, if it ends up being what the heck ever, it's still going to be the same principle. I mean, if I go in there right now and I hit it, whoops, not the color I was after. I picked the wrong section. Oh, that's ridiculous. Try something more like that. Okay. So, say it was going to be blue. We all know pretty much how that's going to look, right? See, same kind of principle. So that's all these little, all of these scary colors. That's what they're there for. Is that I was literally stumbling my way through it, fighting off the fear of what people are going to think about it, and blah blah blah. So anyways, back to what I was actually doing, which was flatting Archibellian's suit here. So I'm on this panel right here. Yeah, I'm trying to keep with the program here and actually update all of these, or I mean update people on my process, because there's actually a lot of people that are watching. Well, they're paying attention to what I'm doing across multiple social media platforms, and I don't want to let everybody down by thinking I've just totally abandoned my project here. And as I said in the last video, I actually refrained from doing these kind of updates because I was like, people aren't going to want to see that, you know. They're going to want to see everything once I'm done, blah blah blah. But no, apparently some people see it as sort of a betrayal if you don't keep them updated on where you're at on things, because then it starts seeming like you've abandoned it and you're not doing anything anymore. And then they're asking themselves, you know, like, why am I still following this person? So yeah, just within the last so many updates that I've been doing, I did a mermaid pinup, and then I did a swamp thing, and both of those actually end up getting a lot of follows and friend requests on Twitter and Facebook. Patreon's sort of a different deal at the moment, because I've noticed a lot of people, they don't really want to follow on there because they're afraid it's going to feel like a commitment, like they've got to donate or they've got to do this or that, which, you know, it's just another social media platform, really. It just so happens to be one that's easier for people to help a creator out with, you know, like help them out financially if they actually want to keep seeing that stuff. Because sure, you can go all over the web and find awesome art and things like that, right? Everybody can do that. But if it's something you actually like, without that support, you've got no real reason to keep on doing it other than a thing that you're going to see in your pastime, or, you know, that people are going to see in their at a glimpse here and there. Because I know people, so there's some people that are actually against it. They're like, you know, the hell with paying for, you know, helping somebody pay their electric bill, this or that or whatever, right? Because they can just go and find art anywhere. I mean, nobody's going to stop you from thinking that way or doing that, right? Like I said, of course we can always do that all day long. But when you've got certain artists that you really, really like, or that you gravitate to, or that you want to see more of their work, you know, that's, without some sort of platform and some sort of support, you're going to see the work once in a great freaking while. Because that's pretty much what was happening with me, is that if people aren't gravitating to what I'm doing and buying more of it to allow me the time to create more of it, I gotta go find work elsewhere. I mean, that's how it is. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, you know, I like your art and this, that, blah, blah, which of course it's that's generous, you know, I love that and everything like that. It's not 100% of the reason why I do what I do. I do what I do because I've always done this, literally, long before I was doing it digitally, and I've just always loved doing it. But the further and further you go into the territory of, hey, you know, how much are people actually willing to buy what I turn out? How much are they willing to, well, for lack of a better word, basically literally just support creating more and more? And then that's when you start getting into that whole area that, you know, you're going to have a lot less percentage of people that are actually going to be either financially be in the position to buy that stuff or support you, or just simply throw you $1 or whatever the heck it is, right, a month, or the way some of the Patreons have it set up, like a week or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird thing to experience, because it's not like I would ever want somebody to break the bank, or just like hurt themselves financially to do any kind of support for me. I think that's sort of effed up to even assume that somebody should do that. But of course, we all know the realities of it, which is you can't just sit there and turn it out for free and expect to pay all the bills when you're turning out the work for free. Is it going to stop you from creating? Ultimately, no, it shouldn't. But it's just like a musician or anything else, right? They're gonna need a place to stay. They're gonna have bills to pay. So without some kind of system set up, they'd be playing at home, which a lot of musicians do. Probably, I'd be willing to bet. You probably haven't found a way. Set up a whole system with fans and whatnot to be able to sustain what they do all the time. I've actually seen that firsthand. I know a bunch of musicians, they're freaking good. But they don't have anything set up really where people can go and hear, pay for their music, support what they do, things like that. And that's basically all I'm getting at, is it's the same kind of thing. Some people, like I was saying earlier, some people get really mad because they're like, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to shell out my money in this and that? If you buy anything that's artistic, that is the principle that you're doing. So you can't really call something like Patreon begging for handouts, because nobody's sitting there. I haven't seen anybody sit there and beg somebody for money on Patreon. I haven't seen every account, or like hundreds of them, but all the ones I have seen, none of them have done that. I've usually seen literal statements saying, hey, if you do this, I can work this job less, or I have to hunt down less graphic design work, right? And then which means I can spend those hours doing this. That's a reality. I don't really call that somebody asking for handouts. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on that. But then there's a whole other side of it too. Well, not really related exactly to any of that, but just to the like artists, whatever, a creator like myself doing something where people have had a good response. I've shown this stuff, and it did, and that is part of a conversation that led to me wanting, or basically realizing, that I have to do more of these updates, because I've seen creators, they wanted to do something, they've got this great idea, and they've gotten so far in it, and they actually end up getting a bunch of riled fans because they are not either doing an update or clarifying where they're at, or people are feeling like they've been burned in a Kickstarter project because they're not getting their material. And a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of times that's because the creator underestimated what they originally needed to be able to get the book through or get it done, and they still can't take that time off of work to complete the project, and so the whole thing just sort of comes to a stall for a while. And that's unfortunate, and it does happen, but at the same time, usually the people who intend to complete their project they'll actually still go through with it and do it. They won't screw anybody over. I actually saw one guy. I can't remember exactly how much he made. Okay, so I better finish what I'm doing here on screen before I keep flapping lip. So okay, I just selected him, so now I'm going to fill him in with the main color. And then I'll end up going back and cutting some of this out and filling in the other. So yeah, anyways, what I was saying was that one guy, I don't remember what his name was or what exactly his project was. I don't remember if it was a book or some kind of invention. But he did pretty good, and I don't remember how many thousands he got. It was, I don't know, it was I think it was well over $25,000 for something. So you're thinking, like, wow, man, that guy just sold a lot of what he had, right? But no, it was actually, he had to finish it all. He had to finish producing them, whatever the item was, I don't remember, and getting them out to the people who supported him, right? Who did buy into it. And if you've never been on Kickstarter, it's you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to donate at this level, and then there's usually prizes or whatever that you receive for each one. Same basic principle for Patreon, right? Only thing is, with Patreon, it's on a regular basis, and the dollar level is usually lower, so that you don't break your bank and you still get to support the people you like. But back to the Kickstarter thing, that guy actually had to finish the rest of what he was producing out of pocket, because he had severely underestimated what it would cost him to produce and ship and all of those kind of things. And I don't remember how much more he spent, but he actually went into the negative. But he was so worried about there being a backlash and nobody ever supporting him again, things like that, on another future project, that he went ahead and paid the rest of it out of pocket, because he was that afraid of screwing people over. And ultimately that's a really good thing to do, obviously, because you wouldn't just want to leave everybody hanging this and that, because that's the price you pay on a Kickstarter if you don't see that stuff through, is people will not support you again. Fool me once kind of thing. But most of the creators who actually have good intentions and want to see this stuff through, they won't do that, period. But at the same time, people aren't really usually going to hear about a lot of that behind the scenes stuff. They're going to think, oh, I'm not going to donate because of this, because the person's going to take the money and they're going to run with it or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's not always the case. Has that happened? Yes, of course it has. You get people who will set up something or whatever, and then they'll just take the money and they'll be like, sweet, free money or whatever, and then they just leave. Very unfortunate, of course, but you're always going to have people that are going to take advantage of whatever the heck system it is that's set up. So when I hear those statements on Twitter and stuff like that, I'm just like, yes, of course that's bad, but you're not going to support anybody ever again, on whatever platform, just because somebody didn't come through with their book, or they're this or they're that. It's like, really? Of course, everybody's entitled to their own. Heck, it's their money. What are you going to do? You can't really yell at them or get mad at them. Because I saw one guy that had, I don't know what the heck he was donating to or trying to support, but he had apparently been trying to support a bunch of books, I'm assuming, because that was the topic on which everybody else was talking. Comics maybe, or maybe just books in general. And he said he had been screwed over so many times that he'll never support another Kickstarter project. And again, how can you get mad at somebody like that when they've actually tried to help and they've been screwed over that many times? That's I don't know. That's very wrong. And at the same time, you got those I don't know, the creators that do that and don't give people what they actually paid for or what they were after eventually, because I've seen some people take months and months to do it because they underestimated the workload. I don't remember what the longest one is. I think it was a year and a half or almost 2 years or something, and that person still completed it. But again, it was the whole underestimated what they actually needed kind of thing to take the place of, actually having to go and work, which happens a lot. You see what the value is or whatever of a book, you add it up, but then if you underestimated, international shipping, or you didn't calculate in, the weight of whatever the heck it is that you're going to be, or, however many books are in a package, there's a lot more to it than what people usually set up. Just the surface stuff that everybody sees. There we go. That's his second color. Boom. Still not sure I'm going to keep that. The gray and turquoise-ish color are pretty cool, but I don't know. We'll see. Wow. Okay. I was not watching the time and I'm rambling on for like 21 minutes here. Alright. So as soon as I finish this one, I think I'll call this video done for now. And eventually do another update. But, yeah, this is, I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. And I feel like I'm getting further and learning more in just this. I mean, I know it's 2018 now, but in 2017, ever since I had started going to those meetings, just talking with people online more, trying to get a better idea of what the actual creators are going through and what they're doing, rather than just trying to read a bunch of stuff and go off of that kind of material. It's had a better impact on my approach to all of this. So I feel better about the whole, where I'm at, where I'm going with this. I talked to Mike from Octal, and if you've never heard about Octal, is this awesome, it's sort of like an anthology thing where there's a bunch of people getting in there and publishing their stuff and whatnot. Only thing is that this is aimed at publishers, not just generally fans. So they go in there and they fill up the book with all these people who either want to pitch their project, they got a project they're working on, they got an idea they're working on, and then maybe it's a writer, and he paid an artist to do these 8 pages. The whole thing revolves around 8 pages. And he wants to show where he's at on it and pitch it as a project that needs to obviously be picked up. And Octal doesn't really handle any of that stuff. They just help you with getting that exposure out there and getting that idea out there so that you can get it picked up by a publisher, instead of literally having to go to each publisher and be like, hey, what do you think about this, what do you think about that? You might only have the writing with you, or one aspect or another. And it sort of helps you have more of like a completed project. And Mike is very knowledgeable in what's better, what's best for your book and whatnot. And I've still got to take this back actually and do a group review, even though this book is pretty much coming out no matter what, because I've been working on it for way too long and I want to finally see what I've done, like the fruits of the labor, so to speak. So I've got to get some feedback on that, and then put whatever I got to do into, this is going to actually, after having that conversation with him, it sounds like this is going to serve as more of a zero issue. And he was telling me I don't, because I was afraid, do I still pitch it into something like that where I'm not exactly sure what kind of publisher I'd want to take it to or whatever, or do I just self-publish it? So I was thinking I'm just going to self-publish it and not screw around with trying to get his help or anybody else's feedback on it, because it just needs to be done, right? And he said, well, I don't have to make that choice. I can actually self-publish and put it in Octal. And I was like, what? Because that thought didn't even occur to me. I thought one is trying to take advantage of something. And he's like, no. He's like, you want to keep doing that because the whole concept is to pitch your project to whatever's best for the project, however it can either get picked up or be completed or not completed, but spread the word to, on what the project is to get more momentum going. He said you can always self-publish because obviously if you've already got a pre-established crowd or whatever, any publisher is going to want to see that, hey, I'm bringing this and that following with me. So that never hurts, really, right? And I could just go ahead and see if there's a pilot to pitch out of this material, and then proceed to say, hey, it's open-ended, and the story goes this and that from here, and then what do they think? So I was like, you know what, I'm releasing this anyways, why on earth wouldn't I do that? After he explained it, it became really obvious that I should. So that's one of my next plans on where I'm heading with this. Alright, that's Bexva's main color there. I'm going to go down here and sample from his head here. And finish off his second color. Cut all these out. So anyways, that's part of my intention with it. The other part is I'm going to submit it to this other anthology that I am part of a group in Sacramento where they meet and everybody is working on their own material, and we are trying to also get 8, I think he said it's 8-page pieces done of our book. And in that respect, I believe, I'm not 100% certain because I haven't been to one of the meetings here in a few weeks, but I'm pretty certain it was about letting people know, hey, this is what's coming out, this is what I'm working on. Not really with the intention of getting picked up by a publisher, but more as like a advertisement kind of thing. I think. I don't know. I'll have to update later once I've actually gone and I know for sure. Which is also great because, hey, the more people that you can get looking at your stuff, the better. And so far, the response to my character here has been very good in what places I have taken him to, what shows and stuff like that I've gone to, which isn't a whole ton, but just from online feedback and from those conventions that I've gone to, it gives me a lot of hope for him, actually. The response has been pretty sweet, honestly, for a character that I had, even at that time, I had so much less to show. Only 6 pages of the black and white artwork at that time. And even then, people were very intrigued by him. I had one guy come back around to my table twice because he said the character was just, I had this black and white pinup of him, and he bought that. It was a print, and he bought that because he said it was just so intriguing looking. And that's usually the kind of thing, you know, everybody wants to hear that about what they're working on. I mean, come on. It doesn't matter what the heck it is. It could be music, it could be video games, it could be, you know, who doesn't want to hear, hey, I can't stop looking at this, or I can't stop thinking about these characters. That's the whole reason of why you, well, that's a huge part of the reason, I should say, why you do it. You want to connect with somebody else on some kind of level on what it is the heck that you're doing here, or else you might as well just keep it all to yourself in a, you know, in a shoebox in the closet or something. But the main thing that all, you know, going to that group or just talking to people online about all of this has done, the most awesome thing I think is just renew my faith in what it is, you know, what the material is, and hey, yeah, I might have taken a long time. Hey, I might have had some, you know, medical things going on, stuff like that. But you know what? I still love this story. I still want to get it out there. And don't give up, you know, just keep doing it. I mean, I've seen some people, I'm not even joking here, these are big name people, and they had worked on their stuff for like 10 years, 15 years. One guy that I follow all the time on YouTube and stuff, he worked on his book for 15 years. He first thought he was going to animate it, turn the story into this animated piece by himself. And one day he just said, you know what, the heck with it, I'm going to show this person, this other guy that he knew, what I'm working on. And the dude told him, you're nuts. He's like, you're trying to animate this thing. You're getting, you know, better or changing it piece by piece, here and there, all along the way. He's like, knock it off. He's like, just turn it into a book. Turn this thing into a book. You got the story there. It's good. And get it out. So the dude did it, and, you know, it was a success for him. So big of a success, he was able to quit his job at DreamWorks and go and do it. So now that's what he does all the time. Makes videos about where he's at on the next issue. And he apparently was not fond of doing that work because, you know, if you've ever done graphic design work or anything like that, they'll ask you to do something cool and crazy and amazing and artistic, you know, just be really creative and out there, and then they will whittle it down to the point where you're like, well, hell, anybody could have done that. Why'd you ask me to even do this? You know, why didn't you just tell me, hey, I want something that everybody else has? And that happens quite often. And that was exactly what was happening to him at those kind of places too, you know, whichever ones it was that he was working at. And so working on his own project, you know, it allows him the freedom to do whatever the heck he wants. And when you think about it, it usually comes down to, hey, are the characters going to be able to survive, you know, with their own fan base? Do they have their own following? Things like that. So once that's established and those people are there to support the material, why on earth wouldn't you go off and do your own thing? You know? So I might be dreaming here in a tunnel and all that kind of pipe dream stuff, but you know what? I don't know. Maybe one day this will be able to supplant any kind of work that I can find anywhere else. But yeah, alright, it's already 34 minutes, and I'm going to call this video now. And hopefully somebody out there on the internets, right, enjoys hearing about some of this stuff and watching me do these flats. The most enjoyable thing in the world, right? Doing flats. And then I'm on to this page. And after I get that done, look at that, look at that. I don't know if you can see my arrow over here. I got 1, 2, 3 after this one. I got 4 left. So close. Alright, that's it for this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.